Hey y'all, Average Joe the Average Geek here, and I want to talk about some Star Trek Discovery today. Specifically, the character of Michael Burnham, played by Sonequa Martin Green. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Click that watermark, hit that button. Get entered in for a chance to win the subscription box of your choice once we hit 100 subscribers. And you'll be able to get either the Standard Loot Crate, the A-Box, or the Geek Fuel for whichever month that is. So hit that subscription button real quick, and then we'll go ahead and continue on. Thank you. Alrighty, so Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham has definitely already started off as somewhat of a controversial character. She is being masterfully played by Sonequa Martin Green. So the conversation here isn't going to be about her performance of the character, but the decisions made by the character herself. Which are questionable at best. And at the end of the second episode, or the prologue, as I'm going to refer to them as, because the first two episodes were very obviously a prologue, a setup for the rest of the series. Now, at the end of the second episode, she is imprisoned for life for mutiny, which is a very serious thing in the Star Trek universe. I mean, you don't really hear a lot of people go into prison, or at least we don't see it in Starfleet. This is unprecedented. The only other character that I know of, at the very least, that has been imprisoned by Starfleet is Tom Paris from Voyager. And then he was pulled out of prison by Captain Janeway herself in order to helm the Voyager. So this is very interesting to see this now with the Michael Burnham character. So now we got to go back and we have to look at the decisions that character made and what may have informed those decisions. Why did she make these really drastic and horrible decisions so early on in the series? Well, first we got to look at her upbringing. We know that she was raised on Vulcan by Sarek after her parents were killed by Klingons at the Vulcan Science Consulate when she was a small child. She went through the Vulcan Learning Centers. She went through the Vulcan Science Academy and went from the Vulcan Science Academy directly into Starfleet and was handed off to Captain Philippa Georgiou of the Shenzhou. It is also mentioned later on in the episode that Sarek dropped her off with Philippa Georgiou because Georgiou was a human character who had experienced a life of pain and a life of loss, yet still held to hope. And it was thought that she would be able to guide Michael Burnham into the human world. And she did really good for a very long time. It was even considering Michael Burnham for command before this whole incident occurred with the Klingon ship, the Beacon and the Torchbearer, and T'Kuvma, who is a really cool character. But it's very obviously that Michael Burnham has a lot of emotional growth to go through. When the Klingons were revealed, and she accidentally kills the Torchbearer, and the beacon is lit, she can't emotionally handle it. Her inability to rectify her Vulcan logic with her human experiences and her human emotions led to some serious missteps as a character. She made some very brash and some very horrible decisions, which culminated in her attacking a superior officer for being a mutineer, taking control of the ship, however briefly that was. I mean, 2 seconds or 2 minutes or 2 hours is unacceptable. So she threw her career away because she was unable to make that balance between Vulcan logic and human emotions. When she very adamantly went to Sarek and asked what the Vulcans did when they first started encountering the Klingons, Sarek was very clear. He's like, be careful how you use this information. It worked for Vulcans. It doesn't mean it's going to work for Starfleet. It does not mean it's going to work on a human vessel. And she disregarded that. She thought Vulcan logic would carry the day. The infallibility of Vulcan logic in her mind and her hero worship of Sarek led her to ignore these warnings, and when she became a mutineer. She made some very stupid decisions. And it's, the question is then, did she actually start the war? by charging weapons, by attempting to destroy this Klingon vessel. And you can go back and forth about whether or not Takuvma started the war, or whether or not Michael Burnham did. But it's obvious that Starfleet feels that she did, because we know that Lorca in episode 3, presumably episode 3, or maybe later on, even says that, you started this war. Don't you want to help me finish it? And it's that, let's see, I got some notes right here. And it was her inability to keep her feelings in check regarding the Klingons. And her probably post-traumatic stress disorder and a lot of very serious mental hang-ups from losing her parents and having this traumatic event when she was a child caused a lot of compounded grief when facing the prospect of losing Georgiou and losing the Shinju and losing her newfound family, her new human family, and the various aliens and, apparently robots scattered throughout Starfleet already. And this fear, this inability to come to terms with that fear led directly to the war breaking out, led directly to the death of Georgiou and the destruction of the Shinju. Even when, at the very end, when her and Georgiou, she comes up with this great idea. It's like, no, if you kill him, Takuvma becomes a martyr. It gives the 24 houses, the Klingon houses, something to rally behind is the death of Takuvma. Yet when they go to the ship and Georgiou gets stabbed by Takuvma, Burnham makes the choice to switch her phaser to kill, and kills Takuvma instead of stunning him and achieving the mission. Regardless of Georgiou's death, she still made the choice to forego the mission to kill Takuvma. So her failures have been compounded greatly. Her inability to accept the potential death of her new family led to the death of Georgiou, and it led to her losing her Starfleet career and going to prison for life. And it gave the 24 Klingon houses a rallying cry. Takuvma became the martyr that he wanted to be. Everything Takuvma said leading up to that point became true at the moment Burnham pulled that trigger and killed Takuvma. Very interesting place for this character, and it's going to be very interesting to see where this character goes in the future. She has a lot of learning to do, and I'm curious as to how big the gap is between episodes 2, the prologue, and episode 3. As we know in the preview for episode 3, it is said that 8,130 something people were killed in the first 2 weeks of the war. So, again, I'm curious how big that gap is right there. And I'm curious as to how much thinking and self-examination Michael Burnham has gone through. Anyway, something to think about going into the future. It's just me kind of rambling on about a great new character. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And, yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. Peace.